A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away, while being rescued by the man known as Luthen, Cassian Andor is given a choice. Well, as much of a choice as he can be. Either continue running or do a job for the man. The job that will net him 200,000 credits and possibly a spark. A spark to take down these bastards for good. A spark of freedom and true liberation. These are episodes 4, 5, and 6 of Andor, and we are the fake nerds here on Fake Nerds Watch. I am Ben Magnet, joined by Brandon Bud Spooky, I guess.
Yes, I'm still but spooky, I guess, for all of October.
The entire month.
And of course, joined by none other than Cassian Ryandor.
Hi, thank you. It worked out perfectly, but I'm not going to do an accent because that'd be disgusting. I'm not going to.
Interestingly, Cassian Ryandor sounds like a name from Lord of the Rings.
It's me. You can catch me in the Lord of the Rings podcast we talk about next week. Okay, I'll think of a name for there too. Yeah. Welcome, guys. Welcome back to Star Wars.
We're back in a galaxy far, far away, talking about the prequel to Rogue One. That is, by all accounts, incredible.
Yeah, this is Ben. You watch these like back to back, so it's much more fresh in your mind. But like I have been thinking about specifically the last episode of Andor since I watched it. But all three of these episodes, I think it's very clear this is a winner. It's not just a winner, but it's like we could have been doing this from the beginning.
Yeah. Come on, this very much is the best Star Wars show Disney Plus has made or Disney Plus has put out.
I think it's the best Star Wars show ever made.
I'm pretty sure this is as much as I don't want to throw the animated shows under the bus because I haven't seen all of them, but I have seen some of them, and they're
doing different things.
Yeah, they are doing different things, but this is I would also say this is the best Star Wars show, period. The acting is, the acting, the sets, and everything else is incredible, but it still feels like you're in a Star Wars universe, but it doesn't feel like a typical Star Wars show, if that makes any sense.
It feels real.
It feels, yeah, exactly. It's a great spy thriller heist drama. And even though, because we were talking about last week how they're doing like an arc or a story, like a little mini story arc in each 3 episodes, but still events from the previous set somewhat bleed in. Like we catch up on Cyril, that dude. I know I'm jumping ahead, but yeah, you're absolutely right. This is like the best Star Wars show I have ever seen, and I cannot wait to watch more of it.
I really like. There's a couple of things that you touched on that I would love to just like dive into more.
Yeah, we will.
But I really like this show. Period. How it just to kind of bounce off what you said about like every 3 episodes is its own arc, but they kind of, it's an interesting, because really 3 episodes are 1 episode, right? A complete arc is 3 episodes, and it works in that sense. In an interesting way that I haven't seen serialized television do in a while. Every episode feels self-contained while also bleeding into. Every 3 episodes feels self-contained, like a 3-episode miniseries. But it's important but it keeps the flow going of the entire show.
What you're saying, Brandon, is the perfect television show.
Yeah.
This is what, and not every TV show has to do this, but this is what you want from television. You want little arcs that all bleed together for a final conclusion. This is like 22 episode arcs of like old school television. That is so many episodes. But like the CW shows even do this. So you have arcs, right? They're not 3 episodes, they're much longer, but it all connects to an ending. Andor is doing it so much more succinctly, and it is telling such a personal story. And what I love about this so much is the stakes could not be higher for our main characters. The entire job that they're doing is one bad day for the Empire. One day, and like, oh, we'll fix it tomorrow. But their lives are on the line for one bad day for the Empire, and the stakes have never felt more real than in a Star Wars product. This heist is so good. It was like, it's like, this feels like an HBO show, y'all, for real. Like the quality level, it's insane. I can't believe every episode I watch, I'm like, this is like the most like grounded, the most real, like the conversation in episode 5 between Nemec and Andor. where he's just talking about his manifesto and like mercenaries and just like what being part of a rebellion means. It's like it's the most serious a Star Wars film has ever been. Star Wars has ever been, even more than Rogue One. This is like, I like Rogue One, but Rogue One I feel is a little a little shallow. This is doing everything Rogue One wanted to do better because it has more time to do it.
I was just about to say that, like the what I think this show does really well is that from the get-go, Tony Gilroy knew exactly the show he wanted to make. And you're right on the money when you say it feels like an HBO show, because this also feels a lot darker. And I'm saying this about a show that we watched some dude get cut in half by a door in the first episode of Mandalorian. So like I understand that The Mandalorian is a more mature show than what Disney Plus offers us with anything else in their library. But this feels grittier in a way that makes it feel like an HBO drama. I'm not talking like Game of Thrones. I'm talking about like Sopranos, right? Like it feels like an HBO drama because we're not dealing with fantastical stakes.
No Jedi.
There's no Jedi. We're dealing with what Rogue One wanted to be about. And I firmly believe that Rogue One wanted to do similar stuff, but couldn't because of the restrictions that Lucasfilm put on it at the time. And it's really nice that they were able to let Tony Gilroy tell the exact story. Maybe it's not the exact story, but it feels like the exact story that he wants to tell about Cassian Andor.
Yeah.
Brandon, to push back just a little bit on the whole, it's not true Game of Thrones. I feel there are really good.
I'm kidding. Sorry.
No, I feel there are some good Game of Thrones elements in this show. I'm not saying like
for sure.
Yeah, I'm not saying like the fantastical magic, dragons, Jedi, and all that jazz. Dogs. I'm saying when I mention Game of Thrones, I'm talking about the surprises in character traits, the surprises in character arcs, where you think a character is going to zig when in reality they're going to zag. Not to mention what happens at the end of episode 6, but there's a few reveals and honestly a few deaths. I mean, yes, this is a heist. You know, not everyone's going to make it out alive, even though you really wish that. And because it's on Disney Plus, you think, oh, everyone's going to be fine. Maybe a few revelations will happen, but they're all gonna be safe and they're all gonna have a great time. Cut to the end of episode 6. What the Jesus Christ was that?
And again, like having any other, like if this were a regular Disney Plus show, this would be the end of the season. And this would have been like, again, still the best thing that they put out, but they have another half season left to go. Like so much more to build on. And like the boldness to have episode 5 just be a bunch of people talking for the entire episode on both sides of the equation, whether it's the Empire, whether it's our rebels, whether it's Luthen. We'll talk about Luthen.
It was so riveting. The dialogue is so well written. As you talked about episode 5,
the axe forgets, the tree never the tree remembers, the axe forgets. It's good shit.
It's just so wild because like this is some of the best writing I've ever seen in a TV. No, look, TV writing is a lost art. I will firmly admit it's because streaming has muddied TV writing, but it feels so refreshing to get what feels like a TV show again with riveting writing. As you said, Ryan, episode 5 is just people talking, and it is some of the most engaging dialogue I have seen, let alone not just in Star Wars, and a lot of streaming shows that we watch.
Yeah. Again, like I bring up the HBO thing because like HBO has a quality barrier that like Netflix has got rid of a decade ago, right? Like regular cable channels, even the bigger channels like AMC and stuff, like HBO is quality control, and this really feels like man, they really just knew everybody. I feel like Kathleen Kennedy was looking at the show like, I can't believe we made this. Did we really make this? This isn't HBO. I allowed this. It's so good. And for us to care about these random characters in the heist, and like when some of them do fall, you do feel it. And like when there are betrayals, you do feel it. And these are literally nobody characters in Star Wars. They are just random rebels, but that's the whole point of a rebellion. Everybody's important about it. And it's all about the grounds people. It's not about the Jedi. And I'm like, it's so juicy while being really low scale. Like it's everything we wanted from a Star Wars show.
I love how with these characters, you're just like Cassian, where you spend time with these characters, you learn to grow and or not to grow necessarily, but you learn to like these characters. You hear their stories and you want them to like, oh, now I know a little bit of your backstory and I kind of want to, okay, I see why you're in this. I see why you're fighting. I see why you're doing this against the Empire. So yeah, I want to do this. And it makes the portrayals and the revelations later on in the Eye all the more heartbreaking. It's a truly, yeah. I feel that Kathleen Kennedy, while she's watching, she's like, "Man, we did this," and she's also going, "Ah, shit, we set the bar really high now, didn't we?"
The thing is, nothing is made in a bubble, right? These types of properties have a lot of eyes on them all the time. But I do think that a show like Obi-Wan has a lot more restrictions than a show like Cassian Andor, because there's things that there's certain look, businesses have to protect their IP, they have to protect their brand, they have to make things that protect their brand so they can get the biggest return, and I totally understand that. What Cassian Andor benefits from is that everyone wrote it off in the first place. I'm certain that Kathleen Kennedy had the same eye and the same micromanaging eye that she had on every other property. But because this is not based on a beloved character that has been in Star Wars for 40 years,
the dead character,
it is based on a dead character from one movie. It worked out that they were able to have a lot more creative freedom to do something. Tony Gilroy had the weight behind him to be like, no, look, this character's going to die in Rogue One. Let's do this. Let's do this how it's meant to be. I'm really glad they waited, and I'm really glad that K2SO isn't in it. I was thinking about this last night.
Yeah.
That look, K2SO is showing up in the show probably at the end of season 2. But the fact that he's not there yet actually really helped the show in the long run. There's You said this, Ryan. You said this really well, that the rebellion, that everyone in the rebellion is important. What's so cool about this part of the rebellion, they mention it in episode 4, how there's other factions. There's other rebellious factions, because we know that Rogue One is the first time where all the factions came together to create the Rebel Alliance. But like to see, and we've seen factions. We've seen Inthus Nest in Solo. We've seen the Path in Obi-Wan. We saw the Ghost crew in Rebels, and now we're seeing this road in Andor. To see like the rebellion was created by people fighting against the Empire, because there were no Jedi at this point. There was no Jedi to protect them, and so now they rose up because they knew what was right. And even if some of them were inspired by the Jedi or not, they rose up because they knew what the right thing to do was. The Empire was wrong.
Yeah.
And we know what to, and we want to get back to freedom. We want to get back to liberty. And what's great about having a show like Andor is that we get to see the boots in the mud side of that rebellion. The people who were ready to like, hey, we just get on this thing and we split it evenly and we just get the hell out of here and we don't worry about any rebellion anymore. It's about those people. And that's really cool to see this side of that rebellion, because it's always been there. We've just never shined a light on it before.
Yeah. Bringing up, this is the first time we hear that there's different factions before they group up. And he's like, yeah, you got the Alliance and you got these guys and these guys. And he's like, they're all the same to me. And Luthen's like, oh, so you agree with me?
Mm-hmm.
You have the same idea. They're all part of the rebellion, even though they're not together. And like, he's slowly turning Andor into this, like, he's already like a radical, but he's turning him more into on his side of the radicalization. And Luthen, he has such a transformation. Like we talked about before he even started having fun, Brandon, how fun he's having in the show.
My God.
He become a real character, and he's faking this extremely flamboyant arts dealer guy, like the Collector from Marvel. And I'm like, holy shit, Stellan. Stellan.
I was so convinced he was part of the Senate, or he was an Imperial. He was kind of like the one to like, hey, Mom, you want to start a rebellion because this is bad shit. But the fact that when he puts his wig on and he does like the fake smile, it's like, okay, what are you doing? And he's just a freaking arts dealer. It's like, what is this guy?
Always smiling, always in character. Like he has to. It is a persona. Like it is. This dude is the most rebellious out of everyone.
I love Stellan. Sorry, real quick. Then I love Stellan's performance in this show. I loved it in the first time we saw him. I love it even more now. He is acting in a way that I haven't seen him act in a very, very long time, and it's really nice to see that he's putting in this effort in the Star Wars show.
Because like he's always good, and again, like I saw him in Chernobyl, where he's giving like a really dramatic performance. So he's always good at doing drama. When he's allowed to be silly, like in like the Thor movies or like a Mamma Mia, he rules. So like the fact that he can do both in the same show, it's like, man, you guys really lucked out with Stellan here. Man, he's killing it.
And he's really selling this. Like he can do this role and sell it to us. And it's really cool to see that happen, because this is something that he could write off and just have a quick paycheck. But he's acting. You know, it's like he's acting.
Because the script is there.
I mean, I know we were talking about I mean, this is a different show, but the actor who played King Viserys in House of the Dragon deserves an Emmy. I'm watching Stellan play this character, going from like a happy arts dealer and how he puts the face on in his thing, and then he's like listening and talking, like when he hears about the attack on that planet, and he's just cackling. I'm like, give him an Emmy for supporting role. God, we have the lead role and supporting role. Just give it to him already.
I know, like I think The Mandalorian has gotten some Emmy noms before, but it's mostly I think been like special effects. But like Andor's a real show, y'all. This one can do it. This can break on through.
I mean, you're right. I wanted to touch a little bit more on Stellan Skarsgård, because you're absolutely right. He is having an absolute ball, and his performance is showing. Even though he's not on screen all that much, you can definitely tell that he's living a double life, and it's very telling is when him and his, I assume the shop clerk, his assistant, and she's telling him, it's like, I hate it when you worry, go to bed. And he's just like constantly checking the radio, trying to check in and make sure the plan's are working. It's like, oh, my guy.
It's so and like the turn for Stellan is so quick. Like Mon Mothma comes to have a conversation. Oh, let's go look at this art piece behind the wall. Smile, smile, smile. Did you get the thing I needed? Like it's so quick. It's so like he's so straight to the point, because then he has like 30 seconds to be like the real him, like the Batman. Like it's so juicy.
But you brought up earlier, I kind of want to rewind a little bit to when you said the dialogue that Stellan has. Oh, so you agree with me? Because Cassian says they're all the same to me. What's really brilliant about that is that ties into, once again, Rogue One in a really interesting way, because in Rogue One, we are led to believe that Mon Mothma and Bail Organa were the only two who said, we're all doing the same thing. Let's all unite behind one banner and openly go to war with the Empire. And so, and we see that, we see a lot of that progression in Rebels. We see how that goes up in Rebels. And now we have another side where we're seeing Luthen, who's part of that circle. They even say, it's like, you want to bring someone new into the circle. Who's part of that circle, being like, yeah, we're all doing the same thing. Why aren't we all doing it at the same time?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what I really like about this era. That's what I really like about this era of Star Wars, because seeing the different rebel factions kind of come together and realize, why aren't we doing it? Because there's a lot of mention of Saw Gerrera in these 3 episodes.
Yeah.
Because he's doing his own thing also. So like
way harsher. Yeah.
Way harsher. And like we know how radical Saw Gerrera is, because we were told in Rogue One, and we see a lot of it in Rebels and Jedi Fallen Order. And Saw Gerrera shows up with a lot of things.
He's everywhere.
And so like seeing all these like different rebel factions basically just do the same thing, and have kind of the people who are funding them be like, why the hell aren't we all doing this at the same time? Why aren't we doing this together? Why aren't we actually going to war against the Empire?
And the great conversation that Nebbit has with Andor in episode 5, it's like they don't know any better. Like they think these small attacks are not connected. They don't think any better. Like they're not going to do anything about it because they're stupid. They're so fat and like full of themselves. It isn't until this final heist where you have the one dude in the ISB, the lady going like, nah, this is connected. This is do you see what I see here?
She even says beforehand, because she's like, I don't think this isn't connected, because she brings up like different heists, 3 different heists on 3 different planets, very similar, spread out. And he's like, I don't think this is as unconnected as we're assuming.
Yeah, and it takes until again, like millions of dollars get stolen. Again, it's only one bad day for the Empire, but it took until this moment going for the lead guy to go, thumbs up here. Maybe thumbs up here. It's totally my idea. It wasn't your idea at all. It's thumbs up here.
Right.
Yeah. Well, so Ryan, it took me forever when I was watching these episodes to, that guy, the head guy of the Security Council.
Yeah, Qyburn.
Yeah, from freaking Game of Thrones. I was like, where from Game of Thrones are you? And then I just remembered.
There's multiple people in this show from Game of Thrones. There's also multiple people in House of the Dragon from Game of Thrones. It's cross-pollination in the genre world. It's fine.
How awesome. I just love it when I see someone from Game of Thrones jump onto Star Wars. It's like, I'm in another super nerdy franchise, but I'm going to bring it.
Yeah. I love that episode 5. It's just us getting to know all the people on the heist crew. Skeen, that actor is from The Bear. He's one of the main characters in The Bear. So they see him show up in 2 big roles. I'm just like, dude, this guy's having a killer year. He's basically playing the same character, but without the yo cousin. I just love that, like, everybody is part of this rebellion for different reasons. He's like, well, we find out in the end it's all bullshit, but he's like, yeah, I had a brother and the Empire killed him. Like, I'm so past revenge, I don't even know what I feel anymore. You got Cinta, who's supposed to be like the hardest one, but at first she doesn't say anything. She seems very soft. Maybe Cassian has a thing for her. Turns out she's probably murdered some children in the end. We don't know. We got the Vel. I think her name's Vel, the blonde lady. Yeah. She's like the leader. She's really great.
She might be in a relationship with the other girl too.
She might be in a relationship with Cinta. They do a little hand thing. Yeah. You got Tamaran and Gorn. One's an ex-stormtrooper. One is a current Imperial officer. I'm just like, this is the juiciest. This is so spicy.
What's interesting about Gorn's motivation is that he basically is just like, I didn't get a promotion. Screw the Empire.
I think what happened was, like, he was brought in because the way he says at the end, like, I served under you for 7 years, I deserve harsher punishment.
Yeah.
He was one of the people who helped deplatform the Aldhani. He's one of the people who helped destroy that country. And then he's like, I'm a fool. What have I done?
He also fell in love with a local woman, and then he didn't get the promotion, but then he lost the girl. So then he like, screw the Empire.
I was deliberately reductive in that because, like, I wanted to highlight the fact that because everyone has their own motivations for joining the Empire, and a lot of them are moral obligations. Because if we remember in Rogue One, Riz Ahmed just was like, I just can't sit by and do this. They're doing something really bad, and I can't. And so, like, Gorn's motivations, his eyes were opened by not getting the promotion, by losing that woman. And realizing that, like, what the hell are we doing? Because it's so easy to go from the Republic to the Empire. For so many people, they were the same thing. If you served in the Republic, you were serving in the Empire, and you're not knowing any different. Oh, we're just doing this as we normally do. This is what we did during the Clone Wars. Yeah. And then it kind of takes like an eye-opening moment to realize, oh, this is way worse than the Republic.
And how flippant and openly disgusting these Imperials are, talking about, like, oh, there's not even Aldhani culture left. It's going to be fine when we wipe them off the map. Like, they're literally talking about, like, everything that Americans did to Native Americans, and I'm just like, or excuse me, Europeans to Native Americans, and I'm just like, man, this show is really going for it, like, really hardcore going for the colonialism aspect, and like, oh, it's so real, and in the disdain in Gorn's eyes, just having to accept it. I'm just like, that's some good acting.
You brought up the colonialism, and one of my favorite things about the prequels is that a horrible sentence to start with. One of the things that I kind of like subtextually about the prequels is the colonialism is there. But George Lucas shies away from it. It's not something he's too interested in exploring. But it's very heavily alluded to, for example, that the Gungans are the native species of Naboo, not the people. So to kind of like see Star Wars go hard into that colonialism is really nice because it is there. It is in the DNA of Star Wars, and to see someone finally bring that up to the surface is really interesting. One of my favorite lines is when like the guy is just like, so what are we gonna do the next time? It's like, oh, we've been promoting this like Imperial watch party, and they can just go to that. So they won't do this anymore. They'll just go to our Imperial watch party.
Man, I'll be honest, I would love to be stationed on Aldhani to look at the eye, because that is a feast. Holy shit. Also, perfect time to do a heist is during a meteor storm.
And what's really great, and what's really interesting about the lower level Imperials, like, they're saying, like, if you're stationed on Aldhani, you hope to see the eye event at one point. And to see like these people these colonials be like, oh yeah, I want to see it.
Mhm.
Like that's why I'm here. I want to see it.
Because again, like you said earlier, like the people in the Empire on the lower levels, they're still regular people too.
Yeah.
It isn't until you start going up more than like your fascism rises. Until then, you're just like a dock worker. You're just like, you know, you're a regular person. So to them be like, yeah, I'm stationed on this planet, I'm just doing my job, and then like a heist happens, like unfortunate for you, you're all end up probably being bad people anyway. The way you're
it's kind of you're being complicit in something you're not even sure you're being complicit in. You don't know because you're ignorant to it. I'm stationed here. I'm doing my job, but I'm here. I'd like to see the thing that this planet is known for.
Yeah, and man, the heist itself is probably the tensest that a Star Wars thing has ever been. Like, I'm really trying to think of like how like I've like on the edge of my seat, like them just walking into the base, and like having to stay like in a single file to do everything right. Like, I was tense just during that moment, even before like the real heist even started, and like them having to do the stuff on top of the tower and them going in. Everyone has their own different roles, and something goes wrong, everything goes wrong. People start going in. What's going on here? All that stuff. It's so tight and it's so immaculate. And like once the guns start blazing, I'm like, man, no, people are dying. This isn't gonna be good.
I missed when Goran died. I didn't see it at first.
It's so quick. It's like, yeah, that dude's just dead now.
Yeah.
And they don't make a big deal out of it. It's like, that's war, baby. It sucks.
See, the Game of Thrones aspect. You get connected to this character, you see this character do all these things, and you're hoping for a good outcome for said character, and he just dies. Just like point blank. No problem. Even the other guy, the former stormtrooper. I was hoping for, he gets shot.
Yep.
Right there. I'm like, no.
That's when I knew that Skeens, is it Skeens?
Skeen. Yep.
That's when I realized he wasn't on the up and up because he didn't cover him.
Yeah, there's one specific moment. He's like, cover me. And he literally goes, okay, he does one shot and then backs up again. And I'm like, where's your cover? Where's your cover? That was definitely, I'm like, come on, bro.
It was at that moment where I was like, there's something.
He's a bad boy.
This guy's not a true blue. He doesn't believe in the cause. He's here for something else.
Not a true blue. Yeah.
What was there's something else I was going to say. Obviously with like these heist things, there's always that one bit that goes wrong, right? You always wait for the thing that's like, oh, this is the thing that's gonna mess up. What I love about this heist and how this heist was written and how it was acted was that you don't know where the screw up is going to be. Like, I feel like with a bunch of shows, like a bunch of films where there's this huge heist plan, they say, hey, this is the one thing we cannot mess up. And if we mess up the whole plan shot, that's like, well, that's going to mess up then. And then you have to improvise and find a way to adapt. You don't know where it's going to happen. You're constantly on your toes. And the fact that the comms guy was the one who figured it out.
Yep.
I think is like, now that is the biggest wrench. I didn't see it coming. I absolutely loved it. And this was one of the coolest heists I've seen in a long time.
Yeah. And it felt like, again, like so tense. Like I think they end up saying like $80 million as like, or $80 million credits is what they say. But like them having to tow those heavy ass things. And I'm like, how much are you guys going to get done really? And like, it's enough. They didn't take all of it. But like, again, it's enough to put a tiny dent in the Empire, a couple hours of extra labor. But for the rebellion, this is going to fund a bunch of their shit. And that's awesome. It's really cool to see. Again, this was an arc that will lead into the next arc where they're going to use that money. They're going to do more rebellion stuff. Like it's a big, beautiful funnel. Love it.
Ben said something in the beginning about how the show feels real. And I want to talk about that a little bit because we talked a lot about Obi-Wan's use of the volume and how it, frankly, I don't think it worked.
Look bad.
And I think that's a bummer. And I wish I didn't feel that way. Yeah. But when we go to Coruscant in this show, I have never felt Coruscant feel so real before.
Yeah.
Like I love Coruscant. I think Coruscant is gorgeous in the prequels. I think George Lucas visualized Coruscant really well, but it's very clearly a CGI city. It is not. It is obviously it's a CGI city. I'm not saying it's not. It's not. Yeah. There's no city that looks like Coruscant. But like, it's so cool how we kind of zoom into the stone and the granite. We go down to the lower levels and we see the guy from the first 3 episodes. He goes to his mom's quarters on Coruscant, which is just in this apartment complex that is so just nothing.
Cyril and his terrible mother. Do you have any job prospects? I'll talk to your uncle.
and not only does it help to feel real in the prequels when we see Coruscant, we really get like maybe 3 rooms. Like quite honestly, we get the Jedi Temple, we get the Senate building, and we get the bar.
Mon Mothma's house.
And so what's really cool about this show is that it feels lived in a way that Star Wars always does, because we go into a shop, we go into Mon Mothma's house, and we've never seen like, okay, we saw Padme's apartment, but I never quite figured out the layout of Padme's apartment. It's really weirdly set up.
Just like a big empty space.
But like Mon Mothma's apartment feels like a high-end senator place that real people would live there with servants and things. And I think that
shitty Republican husband.
It's such a cool. It's. I've never felt Coruscant feel so real before.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, again, like having sets, even if it's just for like the rooms that they're in, like they can't they can't build Coruscant, whatever. But like it's like the show got the time. Not just for the sets, but for the CGI. Because like again, like all of the city stuff, all the special effects of the ships look incredible in the show. And like again, Obi-Wan is a show that should have had a bigger budget.
Yeah.
And it's just it's. I just wonder how it ended up this way. I really do. It's so fascinating.
I will say I have nothing but praise for this show. But in fairness, when we go to the Senate, it's a little hazy in there. You know,
it's a better looking Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah, it's just kind of whatever. It's the Senate building, and it's also but like what's also interesting about Coruscant and the Senate building, and I'm kind of like I used a little quick negative to lead into a positive, which is a testament to how good the show is. What's so interesting about Coruscant is that it's not as populated as we remember it in the prequels.
Yeah.
With the Senate, there's not a lot of senators there because the senators don't care.
Yeah,
they're all rich and happy. They don't give a shit anymore. Coruscant isn't as populated as it was because the Empire is probably moving people off of Coruscant because they want like this is mostly just an imperial planet now.
Yeah. I will say I don't know how much better you can make the Senate itself look, because I think almost on purpose they wanted to look run down and old and people aren't there.
Yeah.
So I think for that specific shot, I think it's okay that it looks a little like less exuberant.
You know, necessity is the mother of invention, right? Like you have this idea of like the Senate is. We can't make the Senate look as grand as it did in Revenge of the Sith. We can't. We don't have the budget for that. We don't have the CGI money for that. But we can use what we can to visually tell audience an important moment of the story, which is the Senate is just there.
It's fake Senate.
It's a fake Senate at this point. It's just there because Palpatine says it in A New Hope. Vader says it. The Senate was only there until the Death Star was built. Palpatine doesn't give a shit about those senators anymore. He just wants them to keep control of the system. He's putting his governors in systems, not giving a shit what the Senates have to say.
100%.
To quote Governor Tarkin, "Fear will keep the regional systems in line."
Exactly.
Battle station.
And so we get to see real quickly, Ben, just cap off my point. Like we get to see how the Senate is visualized by people who don't give a shit. Like this, it's what's the word I'm looking for? It's ornamental.
Yeah,
the Senate is just
an
ornamental.
empty room. And like again, like very much like liberals in America, you can grandstand and do as much as you want, but how much are you really gonna do? No one's listening.
No one's listening.
No one's listening. Yeah.
To go on, because one of my favorite characters or one of my favorite moments in this show, and especially in this arc, Mon Mothma.
I love her so much.
I absolutely adore her. And we got just enough of Mon Mothma to know that she can sense something. I mean, she already knows something is brewing because she's playing with Luthen. But I don't know how deep she is into the throes of rebellion. But
at this point in the story, she is ready to rebel.
Yeah.
She has a lot of story arcs in Rebels at this point also. So.
Okay. But one of the things I love about the show is that you can tell that she is just absolutely done. Especially her scene in the Senate specifically, where she's on the floor of the Senate and she's talking and she's looking around. So many empty Senate spacecraft, or hovercraft, and you see like a pair of senators just talking to themselves in the middle of Mon Mothma's speech, and they just up and just F off.
Well, that's because be fair, that's also because the news bulletin went out that that the Aldhani thing happened.
Oh, okay.
Also, her speech is boring as shit.
Yeah. These people don't care.
It's politics. It's boring no matter what.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But also, I feel bad for Mom, for Mon, because
I feel bad for Mom too.
I feel bad for my mommy too.
no, I feel bad for her because like her husband's a dick.
Her kid's awful too.
Yeah, and she's
Whole
just like,
family.
I'm trying to do shit, and you're all undermining me. Screw all y'all.
I'm really glad that Mon Mothma is a character in this show because I really like her and I really like the story of her in the rebellion. She becomes Chancellor of the New Republic. I don't know if anyone knows that. When the New Republic finally rises at the ashes of the Empire, she becomes Chancellor. I really like seeing her story because we only get her as a guest star side character. This actress is in a deleted scene in Revenge of the Sith. Like as Mon Mothma, and so like we don't really get a lot of Mon Mothma, but at this point Mon Mothma is funding rebellions, is ready to rebel, but she also thinks the Senate has power and the Senate can do some real good. But it's this journey that is going to get her to where we see her in Rogue One, where she says Senate's not going to do anything, we have to rebel, we have to be at war.
Yeah, this is the journey of every character in the show of their radicalization towards the rebellion.
Yeah,
they're all on the side of good already, but like they all need to get pushed. They all need the Empire to be assholes just enough so they go, all right, I can't. The Senate's not going to work anymore. Doing this the nice way is not going to work anymore. I got to be seedy. I got to be gross. I got to fund some terrorism. And that's the thing that is so great about the show is like these people are terrorists. These like they are fighting fascists, but they are also terrorists. Like and like they're not shying away from that. Like when you think of A New Hope, it's like plucky Luke Skywalker is going to stop the Empire. He blows up a building with millions of people in it. Like that's a terrorist, y'all. And like Andor, he's our main character. He's shooting people left and right. He's shooting bad people. He's still shooting people. Murder is a bad thing.
And
right?
that's what's really good. That's what I think Rogue One is trying to do. It's honestly why I like Rogue One a lot, because Rogue One is trying to remind audiences that look, these are the terrorists.
Yeah.
The government is the Empire. Our heroes are terrorists. And so what this show has just done is reinforced that idea. And again, that just goes back to what this is doing is everything that Rogue One really wanted to do.
Again, because Rogue One, like it just didn't have enough time because it's a movie. Like it wanted to do so much, but like, and I think it does a lot of it successfully, just not for me, like setting up a lot of the character stuff. But again, this show, it's 12 hours for Cassian. It's more set up than any character has ever deserved. It's crazy.
I'm really curious. I'm not going to watch Rogue One until the show is done.
Same.
Yeah. I really want to go from the last episode of this show to Rogue One and see how that works.
100%. And I bet it's going to be so juicy. Man. So yeah, heist is successful. They get that money. A couple people unfortunately pass away.
That eye is gorgeous.
Oh man.
Beautiful.
Just all that color and just like, man, I could look at this for a long time.
That chase with the TIE fighters and the freighter, awesome work. I'm happy with that.
I would have been happy just seeing what the eye looked like, but then we also got a chase inside of it.
Mm-hmm.
Give me a break, y'all. I can't afford that in my brain. It's too good.
Mm-hmm.
I can't do too much.
I mean, little side note, this has happened a little bit before the eye, but I love how Gordon doesn't necessarily translate to what the Aldhani priest tells him.
And the Aldhani guy knows. He's like,
the Aldhani guy's just saying F you.
He's so saying like our ghosts. It's like our ghosts have long memories, and he's like, what do you say? He's like, oh yeah, he says thanks, we're cool.
I didn't say that. Yeah, and that's the
Aldhani guy's
like stuff. They got to make the heist. They got to make the heist work.
He's just like, okay.
Yeah, I really liked I really like all the new characters we meet, and when they all die, you feel it, because it's kind of tragic because we spent an entire episode getting to know them, an entire 45 minutes to an hour getting to know them, and I'm very curious to know which one of these characters is going to pop up again. I would like to see what's the girl's name in the Imperial outfit at the end? Cyril?
Are we talking about the heist lady?
Yeah, not Vel.
Cinta.
Cinta.
Yeah.
I do wonder what's going to happen to her.
They don't show her, so I think she will come back around somehow.
She leaves the compound. The last time we see her, she's in an Imperial uniform and she leaves the compound.
Mhm.
Implied that maybe she killed the kid.
She straight up killed those children. I 100% believe that. She's the hard one in the group.
Yeah, she
And,
straight up, like all those prisoners, they dead.
And Vel is alive, but on a different planet. And I would like to see those two characters come back. I'd like them, and I would like to see a little bit of closure on their story. Maybe they'd also die in another adventure coming up, but I'd like to see them again.
I think because they're associated with Luthen, I think they will probably contact Luthen, or there'll be one closure scene. I have to imagine.
Sure, because they even say because Luthen's worried that this could be traced back to him. This heist could be traced back to him because he wasn't careful with Andor, and because the girl says Vel is the only one that can be traced back to you. So we don't really know what his relationship with Vel is.
His daughter
could be his daughter.
That's just like a Star Wars thing. I felt
it could be. I mean, I would not be surprised.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, this is good.
I am so we're watching a lot of shows, and I think we're really lucky to be watching a lot of good shows. But Andor is the one where I'm like, I'm so excited for the next episode. Especially after 6, after the Eye, I'm like, oh my God, we're gonna start a new arc and we're gonna meet new people. And what's the new adventure for the next 3 weeks gonna be? This show is doing such an incredible job of not being fan servicey, not tying into overall Star Wars. I think it has the chance of being the best version of incorporating all that stuff, because this is during the Rebels timeline, Brandon, and we're such fans of that show, and there's so much stuff that they can easily weave in so easily and not have it be big and grandiose and take over the show. But
with the way that season 2, that we know that season 2 is structured, because every 3 episodes is going to jump a year.
Yep.
I can see them 100% in the gaps bring in those K2SO shows up before an episode. And so now we're showing up, K2SO is there. Episode, now they're based on Yavin 4. We know these things happen in this time period, so it would make sense because of how Cassian is tied to Mon Mothma. We're going to have to go to Yavin 4 eventually, surely. And I would not be surprised if something from Rebels, maybe a character, I don't know who, shows up.
I put it on Twitter, but I think of all the characters who could show up and it'd be impactful, and it wouldn't take away from the rest of their story, I think it'd be Thrawn. I really do. Yeah. I think he could show up as just an Imperial for an episode, hey, I hear you guys are having a Rebel problem. Let me try to sort it out. He doesn't sort it out. All right, I'll deal with this later. And then he goes and does Rebel stuff. I think there are a bunch of characters that can show up and it makes sense to the story. It's not just for fan service, and it would be really fun and impactful for this story.
What's really cool about this side of the time period is we know where all of the major players are. We know where Tarkin is. We know where Darth Vader is. They can't show up in the show. Because this is below them. Quite frankly, Tarkin's not going to pay attention to Cassian Andor, neither is Vader. And so it's really cool that we could see someone lower, perhaps a Thrawn. I think Hera is likely.
Yeah.
Because we know they've cast we know they've cast live action Hera, and they've not told us who it is.
Yeah.
I can totally see Hera connecting with this story. Yeah,
absolutely.
Something, she shows up for a heist, she's helping Cassian Andor for a heist, and that's it. I don't need to see a lot more than that, because I think the show's strength is in how disconnected it is from Star Wars while still building the building blocks to Rogue One and A New Hope.
Yeah. And as we get closer to Rogue One, I would not mind, because it is, the more we get into the rebellion, the more other people like the Jedi, like the Sith Inquisitors, all these people do get involved. So it is going to have to become bigger scale the closer we get to Rogue One. Mm-hmm. So if they can organically get there, so it is by the end of Andor, a actual Star Wars show, but it's still Andor, where all these characters are here, but it's still a grounded rebel story. This could be the true best of both worlds. Because right now Andor is a great Star Wars show, but it's not, it's not Jedi and stuff, and I'm happy it's not. If there's a world where all that stuff can happen, I'm like, shit, dude, they can do it. They can do it.
Yeah, that's why I don't want to see I don't want to see Ezra show up, frankly.
Oh no.
I don't. I think Hera is a really good character to show up in this show. Okay. She's the one that fits, I think, what Andor is trying to do because of her history and what she does in Rebels. I don't think Ahsoka could, I guess, because Fulcrum is Ahsoka as Fulcrum is an essential part. Oh my God, who should show up?
Zeb.
No, the Imperial who defected in Rebels. The guy with the mutton
helmet
chops.
head? The helmet
Yes.
head. Yes. Oh, I'm gonna look his name up. I love
He
that
should
guy.
show up in this show. That would be the greatest thing if that happened in this show.
I gotta look up his name. He's so good.
Ben Rebels introduces this guy, this Imperial guy, and then he turns and he becomes the new Fulcrum, which was Ahsoka's call sign when she was helping form the rebellion.
Callus. Agent Callus is awesome, and he has a stupid helmet that matches his mutton chops. Oh, give me that character. Hell yeah.
I would love to see that guy. Like, cast that guy and have him show up in the show. I think he'd be perfect.
That would be perfect. Yeah. Just wildly happy with Andor, man.
I do want to say real quickly, Diego Luna is incredible. He's turning in a performance of a lifetime in the show.
And like, man, I have definitely seen some people online are like, he's not a good actor. I'm like, y'all are insane. Y'all are insane. Just because he's not screaming loud, you could be an actor in a different ways. You could be a more subtle approach where like the anger in his eyes is always palpable. And the way when he's like, when he's talking to Nebbit and he's like, aren't you mad or something? And he's like, do I not look mad to you? Mm-hmm. And he's like, you could see the flames in his eyes. He's like, what, am I not a rebel enough for you? What do you think I'm here for no reason? It's so good. He is such a star in the show. He's so good.
And the idea, the whole, like when they try to turn on him, he's got the sky kyber crystal on his neck and they're trying to turn. It's like, I get it. If you want to back out, that's fine. Don't use me as an excuse. I'm telling you why I'm here. We either go or we don't, but it's not going to be because of me.
Yeah, y'all are scared and projecting that onto me. I'm here to do a job. Are you here to do a job? And it turns out Skeen, big old butthole.
Big old butthole.
What if we kill everyone and take it for half and half?
Hey, Ben, sorry. You were trying to say something a bit ago.
No, I was going to say it baffles me how sometimes some of the best television or the best spin-offs come from characters that aren't. Not to say that, excuse me, not to say that Cassian Andor isn't a big part of Rogue One, but in the echelon of Star Wars characters, Cassian Andor is way down the list.
Yeah.
And yet he is the one with the best show.
Yeah. And you know what it is, Ben? It's so interesting because like that's what Star Wars, the expanded universe, used to be. Creating lower tier, finding backstories for lower tier characters that were, the Star Wars expanded universe wasn't all about Yoda or Obi-Wan or things like that. There was the Kyle Katarn. So those syllables are right, but in the wrong order. He's not a major character within Star Wars, but he had a whole like imprint line created around this guy.
He's a star of multiple video games.
Yeah, and so like that's what Star Wars did so well in the old expanded universe. And now I don't blame Lucasfilm when they decided to go further with Star Wars and making all their comics and books canon, that they chose higher tier characters to do those. But I'm glad we're kind of here where it feels very much like this character doesn't have a huge backstory in the movie that he's introduced in. He's a small character. Nobody cares about this character like they do. Who's a character above him? Saw Gerrera. Like, quite frankly. So, like, we're not going to do a Saw Gerrera show. Let's do this guy's show. He's a C-list character. We can do something with him.
And again, we talked about with Obi-Wan, like, there's so much more restrictions with Obi-Wan because you can't do a lot because we know his story. Cassian, we don't know his story. We know where he dies. He has literally 30 years that we could do whatever we want with him. And because it is the beginnings of the rebellion, which we don't know that much about either, we can build an entire storyline that fits to Star Wars. And it's a good approach. It's a good approach. And
it works so well. Yeah. Like even that one Imperial, that one lady who is noticing the patterns and her assistant, we were talking about how in episode 5, it's 99% dialogue. I was engaged. I wanted to listen. I was like, normally we get to scenes with meetings, and even when I was a kid, I remember it's like, oh, the people talking, it's so boring. Get to the pew pew and the action. Now, as an adult, I'm like, no, this is where the story is. This is how the plot moves, and I'm like watching and I'm listening to them try to figure it out. And her superior goes like, nah, whatever, it's not a problem yet, and it's like, it will be.
I'm really glad we got the Imperial subplot in this.
Yeah.
I think that's great.
Did we get any more flashbacks of young Cassian, or was that all episodes 1 through 3? I don't
It's
remember.
all episodes 1 through 3. We didn't get anything here.
Just making sure we didn't miss any of that.
I want to say I want to kind of bounce off what Ryan said a little bit about, like, we don't know a whole lot about the building of the rebellion. I think the smartest thing that Star Wars ever did, that the current regime of the Lucasfilm ever did, was that they turned the rebellion into different factions beforehand, and it is stated in Rogue One, and then we see kind of the fruit of that, because we can have different. We can show up rebels can show up everywhere in every Star Wars property, and it won't go back to Luke Skywalker, or it won't always go back to Leia Organa or Mon Mothma. Luke Skywalker's on Tatooine at this point, but in Obi-Wan, we met the Path, right? We met the Path. That's part of the rebellion. Those are members of the rebellion. They will join the rebellion, but they're not connected to what Hera was doing with the Ghost crew in Rebels. And so we get to see that path, and we get to see. I just think that was an incredibly smart choice, because then Enfys Nest and Solo. Eventually they will join the rebellion. They're a rebellion, and eventually they'll all be part of the Rebel Alliance. What was so smart is to kind of create these different factions so that we can have different stories of rebellion. That, quite frankly, we could do this forever. We could just constantly be telling different stories of rebellion in this time period, because everyone's rebellion is different.
You hit it exactly on the money there, Brandon. Because Mon Mothma, she's not a physical fighter. How does she fight the Empire? With her money, with her resources, with her clout, right? Saw Gerrera, very much a physical guy. He's not up in the politics. He's about, I'm gonna go blow that shit up.
He's a radical.
I don't care who dies.
Yeah.
And then you have people in the middle who are like, we want to fight, we want to do what we can, but sometimes you need to be pushed. And what's so cool about this specific era is everybody, whether you're a physical fighter or an emotional fighter, however you are all being pushed to the side of good. Because you can't stand on the sidelines in this period, otherwise you will die or you will become a monster. You have to fight back.
And that's what actually the Bad Batch is dealing with also. The Bad Batch is talking about how these stormtroopers these clone troopers who didn't turn, they can't just idly sit by and let the galaxy pass them by. They've got to do something. Mm-hmm. And that's what Enfys Nest tells Solo, and Solo, you're going to have to pick a side eventually. You can't just keep doing this. I picked a side, blah, blah, blah. Cassian is given the same choice by Luthen. Look, I understand that you've been fighting forever, but you haven't been fighting the Empire.
Don't you want to fight for something like that that's real? That's actually will hit them where it hurts, instead of just small skirts. That's
what they say to Jyn in Rogue One also. Right? Why don't you fight for something? Fight for the rebellion. And I just really like that. I think Star Wars is nailing this section of the timeline. These 20 years between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope, Star Wars is nailing.
100%. And there is a worse world where this is the Andor K2SO show, where it is a Han Solo movie where it's them teaming up and going on wild adventures. And that's not, and that could have been a fun show. I am so glad we have this show, because it feels like they're really trying to tackle something and say something, instead of just, Obi-Wan and Darth Vader gotta fight, don't they? Wouldn't that be crazy if they showed up again? And I'm just yeah, I guess. I want to see it. If
it was a better show, I would have been very happy with that.
Yeah. I'm just I know, initially, Andor, sure, what's this about? And then we saw the trailers and everything. I'm just this is a really good sign for the future, because sometimes we'll get a project and we're like, oh shit, man, is this the future of the project of the universe? But Andor is a really good sign, good sign. Watching She-Hulk and watching this back to back, I'm man, Disney, they got a grasp. Right now they got a grasp. I hope they don't lose it, because it's great.
I think it's wonderful that we've introduced Serial in the Star Wars universe.
Oh yeah.
I'm so curious what's going to happen to him next, because we didn't get a lot of play with him in these.
There's so much fun speculation on what's going to happen to this character, and up to episode 3, everyone's okay, he's going to become an Imperial. What if he was fired? What if he becomes a rebel? What if all the shit where he wants to be so bad backfires and he actually is like, oh, I hate all this and I want to be a rebel. That would be a subversion that I don't think any of us could have expected because he's too shitty. He's just too shitty to get what he wants. I see him having an arc, a 2-season arc where he will die a hero.
I really liked his scene when he gets fired by the Imperial officer. And like the guy, his superior is like, I didn't have anything to do with this. Why is this happening to me? And it's like, because of blah, blah, blah. And like, I wanted a scene of like, this is what I told you to let this go. I told you to let this go. What the hell?
Yeah.
I told you this would happen.
It is, and to have an entire episode where his just mom's just like eating them alive.
Mm-hmm.
People are having fun speculating. Uncle, I'm gonna set you up with your uncle. Is that Imperial? People are speculating that dude's a mobster. He's a space mobster. Because the way she's like, I'm gonna set you up with your uncle Leo. It's like that's a mob man. Because like, I think that'd be fun. I don't know.
What if it's a hut? What if it's a hut?
Oh, it's so gross.
Calling in the family favor.
Yeah. 100% family favor. She feels a little Italian mobster to me. Or it could just be an Imperial guy. That would also make sense. But like, I'm so fascinated the direction this guy is going to go because like, he's such a wild card at this point because he's just so defeated. He's so defeated. I could see him, anybody taking him in, he will go to them, whether it's good or bad. He'll glom like a symbiote onto whoever.
What if Luthen finds him, says, hey, why don't you go help the rebels? And then he turns on the rebels so he can become an Imperial.
All of these are believable. He's such a snivelly gross man. Anything is possible. Or he could go down the path of horribleness. He can go up the path. Like I think he is at such an interesting crossroads right now where the writers could really do anything, and I'm excited for it. Because that dude, I don't like him, but I need him out of his mom's house because even I'm starting to feel it. It's too much.
I just like seeing a shitty apartments in Coruscant.
Yeah, this is what a middle class Coruscant house looks like, apartment looks like. I'm like, yeah, okay, it could be worse, I guess.
All right.
Love
Anything
it.
else you guys want to bring up?
Not really. I have like you, Brandon. I have like no negatives. This show has been absolutely amazing. Although I will say I kind of enjoy watching it 3 episodes, the 3-episode binge. Especially now in this day and age, like we have House of Dragon, I still have to catch up on Rings of Power, and I still haven't even finished She-Hulk yet. Having like a little bit of a break in between, for me, it helps. But also, I like it because I get the whole story.
Yeah.
I get the whole little mini arc in about 2.5 hours, give or take. And for me, that's like a lot better than like say watching She-Hulk or House of the Dragon, where it's like, nah, I gotta wait another week. Where it's like, cool, I could watch this arc and then just wait wait a month, and then the new one's ready to go.
I will say that I think you're right about when it comes to Andor, that it actually is kind of fun to like wait for the 3 episodes to be done and then watch them together. And because they flow very nicely to get into each other, it feels very much like they are just one episode. That is cool. I will push back on the fact that like I don't think that's universal though, and I think like the weekly release for like She-Hulk or like House of the Dragon works for those shows. She-Hulk especially, which is a 30-minute sitcom that you don't have to binge the whole thing. You can watch an episode here or there.
Right.
Well, but like Andor almost feels like if they had dropped 3 episodes a week, that would feel very much the same way as like She-Hulk dropping 1 episode a week.
It was smart for them to drop the 3 at once. Yeah. But that's kind of like the precedent of like here they're like, 3 episodes, kind of like a little mini movie, sets up the next arc, sets up the next arc. I think that I agree with you, Ben. It is like I'm just someone who likes watching it like when they come out. Like I like watching weekly things. Because I don't want to accidentally get behind and then I have to watch 3 hours of something at once.
Right.
Or get spoiled.
Well, that's completely understandable. But I was just saying, for me, especially in the timeline that we are in right now with all these shows, I mean, now that a bunch of the shows are ending, or in some of them, and in She-Hulk's case, it has ended, then I'll probably start watching Andor on a weekly basis. But when Andor first came out, we were in the throes of She-Hulk, Rings, and Dragon. It was just like, there's so much for me to watch right now. So giving the space in between, it's like, okay, now I could sit down and digest it.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, I still think the 3-episode arc idea is a great idea. I absolutely love all the actors. I love how the set looks. I just love everything about the show. And even though I know how Cassian Andor's story ultimately ends, I am along for the ride.
Ooh,
It's not just Andor. I want to see Mon Mothma. I want to see Luthen's story. I just want to, even Cyril. I hate that guy, but I want to see what happens to him.
Ryan is about to tell you a great quote from Tony Gilroy.
Yeah, I agree, Ben. I am super interested in all these characters. Tony Gilroy had a great quote talking about, somebody asked him like, so you're dealing with a character who dies. We know his end game. What do you think about these? Like, everybody is living in a prequel. Everybody dies.
Yep.
And that literally, great. I was like, Tony, my man, you're right.
He's
Everybody
right.
Dies.
Technically, this is a prequel to our death.
Yeah. After that, I was like, man, why have I never thought about it that way? Everything ends. That's so good. Changed my life. That quote.
It's like I always bring up Titanic. Like, you go see Titanic, the ship's going to sink at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all about the journey, not the destination.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that this show is. I don't think that I like this show more than I like Rebels at this point, but I definitely see by the end of the show, by the end of the show, that could be possible.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I just think Rebels has a much longer life form, and I think that is my favorite Star Wars show. I think, is that also your favorite, Brandon?
It's mine, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So like, it definitely has so much more real estate, but like, if the trajectory of Andor stays like this, and we know where season 2 will lead into, and if they're able to capitalize on all the fun Star Wars stuff that we were speculating earlier, then this could be like really special, like really special. I already think it's special because it is kind of the first of its kind of like, we can do this. It's possible. Yeah. It's possible.
Mm-hmm.
All right. That'll do it.
That'll do it.
Cassian Andor.
Very cool, guys. All right. So that's Andor. We'll be back after another 3 episodes to talk about Andor once again.
Maybe Sparks will join us next time. So stay tuned for that while we patiently wait the next 3 episodes of Star Wars Andor, or as our screen says, Star Wars Door. Cassian Door.
Cool. So that'll do it. There's of course plenty more Fake Nerds watches. We've just wrapped up She-Hulk. You can check out all of our She-Hulk discussions available now. Lord of the Rings will be coming hot at you soon. The final 4 episodes of Lord of the Rings. You guys, we will get that up there. House of the Dragon. You guys are going to be doing a House of the Dragon wrap up.
Finale is this week.
Yep.
Too spicy.
That's exciting. And probably before the end of the year, we'll try and fit in another show. But as of now, there's not a lot on the horizon for Fake Nerds Watch, which is good. We need the break.
I love talking about these shows, but when you release 4 at once, man, it's hard.
It's a lot.
When this marathon first started, all of us were like, "Fuck!"
At least they're good.
Yeah.
That is true. I would like before the end of the year for us to finally at least get 1 episode of Sandman done, but we'll see what we can do.
Crap, Pascal's ever forgot about Sandman.
We got time before the end of the year. We got time, yeah.
But again, no stress. We'll see what we can do, guys. If you guys want to see that, let us know. Maybe support us on Patreon and support us on Patreon or TeePublic to make it a little easier on us to do some of these things. We've got there's going to be more shows. There's going to be a lot of things we want to do, and it just kind of helps out if the finances are there, unfortunately.
Cash money.
Basement Arcade, you can also check out on this channel. Again, like this video, subscribe to this channel. Basement Arcade, which are our Let's Play series. We're going to see a lot more Basement Arcade episodes coming soon. Ben is going to be screaming in your ears before long. Stay tuned for some very exciting Spooktobers for Basement Arcade. Basement Arcade Pause Menu is a video game series that Ben does. A new Basement Arcade Pause Menu is in the works, a new quarterly, right? You guys are doing a quarterly soon.
Doing it soon.
And also, as the time of this recording, I just came back from Portland Retro Gaming Expo. I expect a lot more in the future because your boy did some work.
Good. Very exciting. We'd love to see it. Animation Station and Fake Nerd Book Club are also shows that you can find on this channel. And again, like this video, subscribe to our channel. I mentioned our TeePublic and our Patreon. Those are linked below. You can check those out if you'd like to support us financially. We greatly appreciate all the help you can do. You can find all of these things on our website at fakenerdpodcast.com. By the way, I updated my blog. I didn't say anything. We've all got blogs on our podcast website. I've updated mine recently to share links to my Infinity Saga series and my Screen Rant pieces, as well as everything that I've written for other sites. It's all up there if you want to check it out. Woo. I forgot to mention that before. Okay, and Ryan, like a blanket holding Cassian Andor, holding you like a blanket.
Cassian Andor.
Yeah, find us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook on Fake Nerd Podcast. Fake Nerd Guys at gmail.com. I'm at BT McClure on Instagram and Twitter. I also write for KaijuRamenMedia.com, Screen Rant, and AtomicGeekdom.com. Ben?
You can find me not betraying my friends at BenMaggot27 on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. You can also find me writing for Old School Gamer Magazine, Fusion Gaming Magazine, and GoNintendo.com.
And Ryan?
You could find me just enjoying the eye on Aldhani with its beautiful people, touching the queen that Ben gave me at DJ Tony Snark 616.
All right, guys. Until next time we see us, stay fake nerds.
Cassian Andor.